Here's the tools you'll need to remove various bolts and other parts from your calipers, brake lines, etc., etc. This here is a spark plug wire puller, but in this case we're going to use it to pull the spring for the emergency brake. You're also going to need a 15mm socket. That's to remove the bolts that hold the caliper in place. Several wrenches. This one's your brake line fitting wrench. Yep. Pliers, pry bar for removing the pads and caliper from the rotor. A Torx. I think it's just a T40 Torx. And as we use other various size wrenches, I'll let you know what they are. For draining the brake lines is a size 11 brake wrench and something that's called a one-man brake bleeder. What it is a small vacuum pump, can't even see the dial, and a fluid reservoir with two lines. One end's open. What we're going to do is put the brake line wrench over this tube, fit it onto the nipple, and slide our brake line wrench onto the bolt portion. Now we're going to loosen the bolt like that. That should be loose enough that I can turn it by hand now. Yep, it is. So that's how you do that. This will be sure to release any pressure that's holding the caliper and pressing the brake pads against the rotor. Any fluid that comes out of here will run into the reservoir rather than all over the floor. If you look here on your brake lines, where it joins from the metal brake line on the body to this rubber brake line to allow flexing as the wheel moves, there's a clip that holds it in place on this mounting bracket. What you do to remove it, grab on this side, there's a small tab, and pry lightly against the bracket, and it'll pull out and easily be removed. You might want to be really careful if this is rusty, make sure you don't snap it. Okay, this brake fitting here is a size 13mm. So you just fit it on here and turn it. And the bracket should hold it in place. So it's got a special notch down here for it to fit in.
What'd you put down below to catch it?
Oh, I put a triangular oil catch pan down here. Make sure that any brake fluid that spills from here doesn't go on the floor. You can also use newspaper, plastic, or kitty litter and other stuff. It's got some sort of star pattern going on here. So you knock it with a wrench or something on this side, making sure not to get any dirt or dust particles inside. And it should just pop straight down like this. You can see there's a clip on here to prevent it from going up through this piece or anything.
Why are you taking it off?
I'm taking this off because we're switching the caliper on this side. The other one on the other side is bad, and you're supposed to replace them in pairs. So that's what we're doing. There are two bolts that secure the caliper in place. There's one up here on the top, and there's one more straight down from that. They're size 15 metric. I use a ratchet and a socket to get at them. You might run into some trouble with this mounting bracket for the emergency brake line if you have a socket that's too deep or a ratchet that's too large. Now that I've successfully removed the two bolts securing the caliper, it'll move freely on the rotor. Only problem is, it won't come off the rotor, either because it's worn grooves here, or just because the caliper won't release. So what you have to do is, once again, secure the rotor, keep it from turning, two lugs and some metal bar, and use a pry bar like this one. Wedge it between the rotor and some supporting structure on the caliper. So I've been alternating directions, prying from this side here, and the other side down here, whichever way. Just remember to hold it in place with this bar and two lugs. That'll keep your rotor from spinning. So I'm at the last step here, and it should come right out, like that. Well, that was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Now you want to be careful about your emergency brake line. Here's the way we're going to remove this emergency brake cable from this caliper. This spring holds tension on this piece here, which pulls this back so that it's always the right length. What we're going to do is remove these two bolts. They're an Allen wrench or hex bit of some kind. I'm not sure what size they are, but you can find that out on your own. So once we remove these, that'll release the tension on this spring, allow us to manipulate this piece, push this spring back, and pull the cable through this tiny gap here. Okay, so here's what this looks like once we got this spring and these bolts off. There's one separate piece here, your large spring, and the rest of the caliper. What I'm going to do is grab this and rotate the caliper slightly, and it should come right out here, like that. So now I have the hook and the gap here. Now here's the most difficult part of the whole project, is separating the emergency brake line from its supporting bracket. What you need to do, grab this spring, have a friend hold this, and pull it back to reveal two tabs. They look exactly like that one on the top. Okay, so once you reveal those tabs, you need to use a screwdriver to push the one on the bottom while fitting the one on the top through this notch. Once you fit it through the notch, you need to pull this back to expose more of the line inside here. And pull the spring away from it and fit the line through that same notch. That'll release this emergency brake line from its support. So here's our new caliper. You can see it has the brake line, the new mounting bracket for the emergency brake, that spring that retains it. Then we have our new piston and everything. What it's missing is the part that holds the brake pads. So we're going to take that off the old caliper and put it onto this one. So now we're removing these bolts that hold the piece that grabs the brake pads. And as you can see, we put it in a vise, but I'm not applying any pressure. This is just to keep it from twisting to the left or right. So now I'm going to put this on here. This is size 13 metric. It should come off relatively easily. It's covered in high temperature silicone grease. So here's the first one. And there's the second one. Now the caliper should lift free. Just like that. Remove these old clips that hold the brake pads in place and replace them one at a time. There's the first one. Just grab this. You can see it has this piece that holds here. Put it in and just press down and it should pop into place. One thing you want to be very careful of is that you get these on in the right order. Since the rotor passes through right here, and you have your brake pads moving in either direction, you want to be sure that one of these little tabs here aren't sticking into the space where the rotor travels. So they'll always be facing out. So for example with this one, it'll look something like this. Tab on the outside, and then on this side here, this is one of the old ones, but it also has the tab on the outside if you can see it.